of their Hindu belief, ICC, and they're winning. The GBC in India is considered to be incompetent. What did our friend say? That they don't even know how to cross the road?
Yeah, that's what he said. He said they don't even know how to cross the road.
Right. So that's what they think about that. But in America, GBC is big fat dudes with big fat butts sitting on big red chairs.
How many ISKCON gurus does it take to change a light bulb?
That's a good question. How many?
Unlimited gurus.
They don't know. They keep on falling down.
I'm sorry.
That's
I'm
a good
sorry.
one.
Say that again. I missed it.
They don't know. They keep on falling down.
That's very funny.
How many ISKCON gurus does it need to change a light bulb? Better know.
Yeah, there's another light bulb joke like that. How many? I forget who it is. Does it take to change a light bulb? Only one, but it takes 4 of them to turn the ladder.
Okay, here is the screen here. So we're gonna read this one here. Where is it? 1 second here.
So we'd like to see, Ranu, what you feel. We're trying to clean everything up so that, our goal is that Krishna consciousness, according to Prabhupada, will continue as he created it ending in 1970. We're going straight forward using not so much Shastra, because he did all the Shastra we need, but common sense to go forward to make a movement that will endure for 10,000 years without adding or subtracting from what Prabhupada gave us. He told us, do not add or subtract. So League of 10K says, fine, we are going to bring it back to where they did add and they did subtract. And now we're going to say no more adding and subtracting. We are going to establish that Prabhupada as he was is Prabhupada as he is, and he is Prabhupada as he will be for the next 10,000 years.
Okay, let's get going. Hindus, having read Srila Prabhupada's first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, are not aware that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
I can't quite understand too well. Do you want Rupa to read it or not?
She can read if she likes. Yeah, sure.
Would you rather?
Yeah, she can read. Rupa Manjari Prabhu, do you want to read?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it.
Hindus, having never read Srila Prabhupada's first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, are not aware that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that his first expansion is Baladev, and that Baladev further expands as 4 forms of Vishnu. Lord Ramachandra is a partial manifestation of Lord Vishnu, having expanded from 4-armed Vasudev, who expanded from Baladev, who is the first expansion of Lord Krishna. The Padabhyoma atmosphere known as the spiritual sky, Brahmajyoti, holds Mahavishnu, who breathes out the unlimited bubbles that then become universes. Into each on a Brahman appears, and Garbhodakshay Vishnu first.
Oh, Brahma. Into each of Brahma appears, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Onto each a Brahma appears, and Garbhodakshay Vishnu perspires until the universe bubble is half filled with water, where Garbhodakshay Vishnu reclines on the couch of Ananta, with Lakshmi massaging his feet, and with Ananta Shesha overhead like an umbrella. Vishnu then enters the material world and connects with the material energy Prakriti, and for that reason he cannot return to Vaikuntha, as there is no...
Vishnu doesn't enter here. It says Vishnu then enters the material world.
Yes.
I thought Vishnu
Vishnu comes into the material world, but then he becomes Shiva there. Shiva does not exist outside of the material universe.
Okay, so you sure this is supposed to be Vishnu, then enters the material world?
Yeah,
Should
but
be
I should
saying
have said
Vishnu as Shiva connects with the material world.
Vishnu that is material world and connects with the material energy Prakriti, and it should said at that point becomes Shiva.
And for that reason, he cannot return to Vaikuntha, as there is no trace of material energy outside of the material universes. For that reason, Vishnu is compared to milk and Lord Shiva is compared to dahi yogurt. Milk can be transformed into dahi yogurt, but yogurt cannot be turned back into milk. For that reason, Lord Shiva is no longer actually 100% Vishnu, and Shiva never returns to the spiritual sky of the Brahmajyoti. So Shiva remains in the material universes as the source of the Ganges and as the ultimate destroyer, Nataraj, of the material universes at the end of the cycle when Garbhodakshay Vishnu retracts all of the universe bubble back into his body with all of the living entity beings in seed form. Therefore, Durga, Kali, Maya Devi, Ganesh, and Shiva himself cannot be seen as fully spiritual beings, and the Shaktis are in fact not expansions of either Vishnu or Shiva, but are empowered jivas in the material world. We are also jivas, but not as empowered. Unless we reach perfection chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, whereupon we become more advanced than Durga, Kali, Maya Devi, etc. To become actual members of ISKCON, meaning true disciples of Srila Prabhupada, the Hindus must pass a written test demonstrating that he understands and 100% fully accepts Srila Prabhupada's description of Krishna Loka, as well as his descending expansions, before being qualified to become a member of ISKCON.
Okay. So what do you mean by here? This is rather confusing to me. Therefore, Durga, Kali, Maya Devi, and Ganesh, and Shiva himself cannot be seen as fully spiritual beings.
Right.
Uh-huh. Spiritual
Maya
being?
Devi is material, is Prakriti.
Yes.
Prakriti is not spiritual.
Ah, okay, yeah, it's temporary. Okay. Yes.
Spiritual means eternal.
Yeah.
Of course, she's a jiva,
Yeah.
presumably, or some sort of Shakti. I don't know what the Shaktis are made of or where they come from, but maybe she's not a jiva. But if somehow she's an expansion of a potency that remains in the material world. In other words, you'll never find Durga or Kali in the Brahmajyoti on the Vishnu planet, or what to speak of Krishna Loka. They simply will not be there. Now, when Krishna has earthly pastimes, it's very possible for demigods to come down, because remember, when Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill,
Right.
he offended Indra, who's just like you and me, a jiva,
Yeah.
material guy, but he's got a lot of money and he's got a lot of airplanes and he's got a lot of power to throw rain all around. So Indra is like you and me, except that he's on a much higher platform. If you and I go to, or if it were not Kali Yuga, at some point you and I could go to the Brahmins and do elaborate pujas and come up higher, 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 birth after birth, until we could come up to the level and then perhaps even become Indra. Because Indra's a post, just like Brahma's a post. You could become Indra. He's not, if you can develop that power, but to do so, you have to do, sacrifice so many, give so many cows to Brahmins, so much ghee, so much stuff. It can't be done on earth, and it is probably not being done that much in the heavenly planets that much right now anyhow either. So Any question there or any thoughts?
Yeah, would that apply to Nrsimhadev?
No, Lord Nrsimhadev is Krishna. He's not a demigod.
Yeah, I know that part, but some people say even Jagannath and Nrsimhadev, they're only here in the material plane. They're not in the spiritual. They're on Krishna Loka or Goloka Vrindavan or.
Oh, no. They're not there. No, of course not. But they are, wherever they are, they go there for the purpose. Lord Nrsimhadev kills demons and, as I've experienced personally, protects his devotees. Not just me. Lots of early days ISKCON devotees experienced being directly protected by Lord Nrsimhadev. So he's there, but that doesn't mean, I don't know what his original abode is or where it would be, but you can research. But essentially, he has 4 arms, so that means he's a form of Vishnu.
Do you Prabhus know the story of in Russia, there was a devotee girl that got thrown in prison and they found the worst witch, a real witch, to get her to stop chanting Hare Krishna. You know that story?
No, I don't.
Okay, so they hired the KGB found the best real bona fide black magic woman, and they took her into the prison, and so she started doing her ritual, and the devotee said she could see this force coming out of her body and entering her body. So she started chanting. She started chanting Hare. No, hold on. She started chanting Hare Krishna, and this force still coming towards her. She started chanting Namaste Narashringaya, and this force still coming towards her. She started chanting Prabhupada Pranam, Prabhupada Pranam, and the force turned back and ran away. This is a true story.
That's wonderful.
Wonderful.
And you can do it too. My experience has been with chanting the Nrsimha mantra, that people pointing a gun at me, I chant the Nrsimha mantra without thinking much of anything else. And I can go over it. In some cases, I was able to take the gun out of their hand.
Jai Nrsimhadev.
And why not? You see, Lord Nrsimhadev is very powerful, and he protects his devotees. So whatever worked for her, if she were able to utter the Nrsimha mantra extremely powerfully, that would have worked also. But she went, being a woman, she went to take shelter of her spiritual master, Prabhupada. And that worked because Prabhupada is not going to let her suffer like that. So what happened after that? What did the Gestapo do?
They let her go, I think. Because they couldn't stop her.
Yeah, the Russians are not ignorant of mysticism. You know, mystical exists everywhere, and the Russians are fairly, from that point of view, from the astral point of view, they're quite sophisticated. Some of them are.
They have found Vishnu deities in Russia buried.
They what?
They have found Vishnu deities in Russia.
Really?
Yes.
Yes, there's been a lot of discussion of that sort of area coming down towards out of the mountains and whatnot, that they have found language that is based on Sanskrit and words that are only used in India that come down for thousands of years. So we don't know. All we know is what we read in history books. And you know what somebody said is that history is fiction agreed upon.
That's a good one. Yeah, the gypsies speak a watered down version of Sanskrit, and they've been gypsies.
Deities?
Gypsies. They
I don't
got
know what that is.
palm readers, people that read your palm. The gypsies.
Gypsies.
Oh, gypsies.
Yeah,
Well,
they
you know,
they speak a watered
gypsies
down
got their-
version.
They got their name as gypsies from the fact that they were known to come from Egypt. Gypsy means Egyptian, or Egypt, from Egypt. So they were wandering people from Egypt. My father had some interesting connections in the mountains of Hungary with wandering gypsy groups, with horses and wagons.
He
and
was
whatnot.
trying to tell you something.
Okay, what was he trying to tell me?
That they speak a watered down version of Sanskrit, and they travel all over the world. They're pretty much everywhere.
So you're saying that Ramani is based on Sanskrit?
That's why my understanding.
Well, why not? You see, we're only dealing 5,000 years since India was completely covered with, and also it was only less than 2,400 years before the Alexander the Great and Cyrus the Great came and started invading northern India. So you can imagine that all the merchants that are going out and traveling, all the mystics that are going out and doing mystical stuff, all of that was going on up until the time of Christ, essentially, and even afterwards. So we should not, I agree with you, and I like what you just said very much, that it shows that we should not be ignorant of the world. Just like they called Jesus in Aramaic, Isha. Well, Isha is Sanskrit. Ishavasyam Midam Sarvam, right?
Yeah,
Okay, but anyhow, Prabhu, thank you very much for sharing that bit about gypsies. Is there anything more about gypsies that you know, or would you like to say,
no.
or anything along that line?
There's a lot of documentaries saying that they came from India.
Well, yeah. So they could go from India through Egypt and then into Europe, and people call them gypsies.
Bhanu is a gypsy.
Huh?
I said Bhanu is a gypsy.
How did you figure that out? Got a realization suddenly?
I was just joking. Okay, let's continue. Okay, let's see here. 1 second.
So does anyone, Banu or anybody, want to go through that text and see if there's anything that they do not like or do not agree? Ramachandra?
Oh, yes. Anyone want to go over the text again? I can put it one more time.
And just particularly whoever has any questions about the demigods, stuff like that. Did you see the way it works out, connects? Now, Banu, are you satisfied with that explanation? Is Banu here?
Yeah. I don't have anything to say on it.
Well, are you satisfied with the explanation? Or will you say, I listened to that explanation, now I have my own belief? We want to
Yeah.
get on the same page. Because if we're going to spread Krishna consciousness globally, we
Maybe
can't have
Vinayak
a bunch of
Prabhu can
different-
comment on it. Vinayak Prabhu.
I'm sorry?
Vinayak Prabhu can comment on it.
Okay. Now?
No, Prabhu, I don't have any specific things to comment upon that, but yeah, you were
Did
speaking
you find,
about
did you find in it anything that you could call a flaw?
no, it's not there is no flaw in that. So, as per
Okay.
the little
I'm trying
knowledge
to
I
give
have.
it. I don't have complete knowledge. I don't know every detail of every part, but I do know the basic structure.
I completely agree that anyone who is taking an initiation, he must sign this document of accepting the Prabhupada's book.
I'm sorry?
Your proposal of getting any Hindus who are joining the movement, they must sign this document of accepting the Prabhupada's version of Prabhupada's book instead of concocting, because nowadays there are many people who out of sentiment or kind of socialist status, they take initiation and all those things.
Yes. So we have to be sure of what Prabhupada said. For instance, there are a lot of people, like we had people on the other night with Shraya and whatnot, they were just going on and on about Shiva. But if Shiva were that important to our spiritual life, why didn't Prabhupada ever put a murti of Shiva in a Krishna temple? I mean, if you go to
Well,
a Hindu temple, there's a
We
deity
have
of
Murti,
everybody.
we have Jagannath, Subhadra, Balaram, and we worship Narasimha. But still, you are saying they don't exist in spiritual world. They don't have
What
the
doesn't
identity
exist?
in spiritual world.
Wait, what doesn't exist in the spiritual world?
Narasimha Dev.
Narasimha Dev has his planet.
Ah.
Narasimha Loka, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, of course, they're all in the spiritual world, but they're never in Krishna Loka.
They don't have the same personality using same form.
No problem.
Huh?
Krishna Loka and dear.
What would Lord Nrsimhadev do in Krishna Loka?
There's
Vaikuntha
no
Loka.
demons.
There's no demons in Krishna Loka. You said that, Rupa?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are no demons.
No,
How
Krishna
will he
stays in
kill
Krishna
demons if there's no
Loka,
demons to kill?
and all the expansions of Vishnu or Krishna, they have their own Vaikuntha Loka. Would anyone agree on this? Because this is what I learned from Prabhupada.
Oh, what are
Narayan
you
Prabhu is also saying the
what are
same
you
thing.
quoting? What are you quoting from Prabhupada?
That
No, Prabhu, you both are agreeing upon each other, but there is some mismatch in the communication.
No,
Bhanu
what
Prabhu
I'm not
stands-
what I'm not exactly agreeing is that in the Vaikuntha Loka, Narasimhadev, the same form is there. It's not a form of Vasudev. Narasimhadev becomes Vasudev, and that in that form has Vaikuntha Loka. No, same Narasimha form has Vaikuntha Loka.
I don't know.
Same
I do not,
Vamana form has Vaikuntha Loka.
but he does. The only deities in the Brahmajyoti, in Brahmalok, in the Brahman, are Vishnu. There's no other deity on a planet in the universe in the Brahmajyoti. There's unlimited four-armed Vishnus with, as we discussed,
How
ultimate
can you,
four-armed.
I mean, logically also, 4 hands of Vishnu. So how many combinations are there? 4 to the power of 4. But there are unlimited Vaikuntha Lokas. How can you,
No, they don't have
it's not
unlimited.
logical
They
if you
don't-
say like that.
No, we went over that earlier. They don't have unlimited hands. They have just the same lotus, conch, chakra, club.
Yeah,
in
4
different
combinations. So 4
Yeah,
to
but
the
it's-
power of 4. So it's like
But-
some 256 or 1000 number. But they're unlimited my Vaikuntha Lokas.
So it's one of the 4.
No,
There are
like
no more. They
every
don't have
seed-
more than 4 configurations. And when it comes to different expansions, whoever they may be, like Ramachandra is a very important expansion. He doesn't have his own Vaikuntha planet. He is an expansion of Vasudeva.
No, I disagree on this understanding you have, Prabhu. I mean, from what I learned from Prabhupada, each expansion of Vishnu has his own Vaikuntha Loka, and he is the same form. And Narasimha has the same form in his Vaikuntha Loka. Vaman Deva has the same form in his Vaikuntha Loka.
They have their each has
has the same form in the Vaikuntha
they
Loka.
each have their own.
Avatar.
Okay, you say that you got that from Prabhupada. So where did you read that?
I can ask the same question. You will say Prabhupada said to you. You will say. I am also saying the same.
Now, all the Vishnu planets have Vishnu. And then if sometimes someone will come and expand and go into the material, one or more material universes. And remember, there are unlimited material universes. They go in. There are not unlimited expansions of Vishnu on their own planets. What would they be doing? What would they be doing? What would Lord Nrsingadev be doing on his own planet? Killing a demon every day?
That's not the spiritual. In the spiritual world, he would be only doing his pastimes, no killing over there.
His pastime is killing demons.
Here in the material world, he would be killing Hiranyakashipu, but in the Vaikuntha Loka, he would be with Prahlad and his Lakshmi Devi consort and his associates.
He would also be half man, half lion looking.
Right?
Would he also look like half lion, half man?
Yeah.
He would.
Yeah.
Why?
I should be asking why. I never came across a person who has this sort of understanding.
Is to kill demons.
No, I never come across a ISKCON devotee who has this sort of understanding.
What
that
understanding?
You have. That Vaikuntha Lokas are all Vishnu incarnations only. No forms
show
of...
me a picture. Show me an illustration that Prabhupada... I was involved in illustrating Prabhupada's books. And I was also redesigned the cover for the first canto, and at no point did Prabhupada suggest that we put in pictures of different incarnations.
Is that possible? Drawing different incarnations in one page?
In that cover,
they all expand from
Vishnu.
Vishnu. Each one of them expands from Vishnu.
Prabhu, go on.
Do you realize how many there are? Do you realize how many universes there are? And in each universe, how many planets there are? How many? And what would they do? They'd be like unemployed, right? Unemployed incarnations in the unemployment department. No, they're all Vishnu with their devotees. When a task is required, they expand. They go to one or more planets, and one of the gazillions of universes.
See, they are devotees
they all come back.
They are devotees of Varaha Avatar, the devotees of Narasimha Avatar, and their devotees, they go into the Narasimha Dev's Vaikuntha, and that's their Swarupa with and they do the pastimes over there.
No.
In their loka.
I don't understand what you're asking or saying.
What you are saying is, I mean, all Vishnu Vaikuntha lokas only. Then what is the need of many unlimited Vishnu Vaikuntha lokas? Only one Vishnu Vaikuntha loka is sufficient, right?
There's 4 types, and there's unlimited planets with unlimited Vishnus. That's you can see right there on the cover of the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's unlimited Vaikuntha planets with unlimited Vishnus. And they have their arms in one of 4 different types. But that's not the important part. The important part is that there's unlimited Vishnus. when there is a need for an incarnation, they will expand into the universe that requires
what you're saying
incarnation.
is the forms of the incarnations are not eternal, they're temporary. You're suggesting that.
Well, they're eternal in, I mean, are you going to say that, of course, they're eternal, but they're eternal within the context of the universe they were in.
No, you're just making it up. Eternal in the sense that eternal in the spiritual world, eternal in the material world. Eternal in the spiritual world, exactly.
When they expand, Vishnu is eternal in the spiritual world. That's it. When there's a need for an incarnation, he expands. And when that incarnation is completed, he comes back. Otherwise, why is there no pictures of different deities or different expansions on different planets? And I swear, what would Lord Nrsimhadev do if he had a planet all to himself? What would he do? Sit there killing people? Where would he get the people to kill? He'd create them? He'll create people and then kill them? How do you figure that out? You just like to look at them as though they're pictures or paintings. Oh, there's Lord Nrsimhadev. He's got his own Vaikuntha planet. But you have no idea what they are doing on that planet.
He'll have a pillar factory.
A what?
Pillar.
It's rhetoric. So.
Rupa, can you translate?
A factory for pillars.
A factory for killers?
Pillars. Remember he breaks out of a pillar?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course.
But Prabhu, like this definition.
But you don't need it because that pillar was in the palace of King Indra that Hiranyakashipu took over. So when Lord Nrsimhadev appeared, he fulfilled, because Lord Nrsimhadev didn't appear to kill on a pillar because he wanted to. He came to kill on a pillar because Hiranyakashipu thought he had outsmarted infinity. He said, I will not be killed indoors or out of doors, neither on land or in the air or in the sea, like that. He kept saying all those things. So Lord Nrsimhadev, when the fighting went on, the column broke. He sat on the column, which was neither on the air nor on the ground, and he ripped Hiranyakashipu apart there at twilight, neither day nor night, neither indoors nor out of doors. So that was very specific to Hiranyakashipu's austerity. It had nothing at all to do with Lord Nrsimhadev. Because for Lord Nrsimhadev to kill him, he could have killed him anywhere. But he killed him according to the benediction that Hiranyakashipu got from Lord Brahma.
Yeah, but Prabhu, this does not fit the definition of Supreme Personality of Godhead, that all his forms are eternal.
I can't quite understand.
If his forms exist at a point of time on this planet Earth, and when his pastimes are over, his form again becomes Vishnu in the spiritual world. So this definition does not fit there.
Yeah, but not just on Earth. That was on Indraloka that Hiranyakashipu was killed.
Yeah, but that in the material world, in the broad sense.
In the material universe, yeah.
Yeah, but still, I've seen in one of those cover pages, there is a
he no longer has
called Ayodhya Dhama of Lord Rama.
He no longer has a purpose. Once he's killed the demon, what is he supposed to do next?
He will accept service from his devotees.
Why? Oh, yes, he does.
He is God.
I mean, take into account that I designed all the pictures of Lord Nrsimhadev's pastimes for when you pick up Srimad Bhagavatam and you see the pastimes of Lord Nrsimhadev and getting his benediction, and Hiranyakashipu getting his benediction from Brahma, and you see him being killed, you see him fighting. I designed all of those pictures based on the scripture that I was illustrating. I didn't paint them, but I came up with the concepts, and then the artist painted them. So it's not as though that is a new idea for me.
In a similar painting, I saw that there are dhamas of like Hayagriva, of Lord Rama's, Ayodhya, of Narsinga. They have their own planets in a spiritual world. In one
They
of
do?
those
Where are the
pictures,
planets? Where are all those planets?
it's in a spiritual world.
What part of the spiritual world?
I do not know
The
that.
spiritual world means spiritual planets.
Yes, they have their spiritual planets like Ayodhya Dham.
And where are they?
Right.
And where are their pictures of them on their spiritual planets?
That the picture of that, there is a very famous picture of the whole creation in which they have depicted Mahavishnu emitting many universes, and above him there is a spiritual planet and various dhamas of Mahesh and these things. So in that very famous picture, there is this description of a small
But that
planet
all
of
takes
Lord
place in
Rama.
that takes place on the edge of the causal ocean. It has nothing to do with Vaikuntha.
No, they are in spiritual world. Vaikuntha is the planet of Lord Vishnu. And Rama, Narasimha, Hayagriva,
There are
they have different
innumerable
planets in spiritual world.
Vishnus on innumerable planets of Vishnu. Innumerable means beyond counting, hundreds of millions, gazillions, right?
Yeah, so innumerable forms of Vishnu can also be there in these planets
Who can be on the planet?
on their own planets, like
Who?
the form of Vishnu and their devotees.
That's what they are. Vishnu and Lakshmi Narayan are on the planet, on the throne, and the devotees are all sitting with them, engaging in loving exchanges.
No, it's about the
in the
forms
mood of awe
for
and
example,
reverence.
if someone is a devotee of Lord Hayagriva during his pastime, then they go to the planet of Lord Hayagriva and they serve him eternally
Oh, really? And where is the planet of Hayagriva?
in the spiritual world,
Do you know exactly where in the spiritual world?
where in the Brahma Jyoti.
So you're saying there's one Hayagriva on a planet and everybody else is Vishnu.
Everybody there is Hayagriva is having his own spiritual planet. Narasimha
Who
is having
said?
his own
Who
spiritual planet.
told you? Where is that written by Prabhupada?
Yeah,
They're all
maybe
expand. They
Ramchandra
all
Prabhu can
expand.
find something on
Prabhu,
Vedas.
let's get it simpler. They all expand from Vishnu, and when they come back from their pastimes, they return to Vishnu. You're talking about Hayagriva. That's one incarnation on one planet in one huge universe, which there's unlimited universes. How many Hayagrivas do you think there might be? You're just thinking about planet Earth.
Is there written somewhere that whenever Lord descends on this planet in some form after finishing his pastimes, he again return back to the previous form of Lord Vishnu? Is this written by or spoken by Prabhupada somewhere?
Yeah, well, you can look it up. I can't tell you the exact chapter and verse, but it is a fact because that's the way it was all. That's how it was explained to me for decades in ISKCON, based on the Srimad Bhagavatam. So if you go into the Srimad Bhagavatam, you can go to the Vanapedia and ask, enter into there, where is Hayagriva's planet in the spiritual world? And see what it says. You see, there's a big difference between activities on the material planets and activities in the spiritual sky. But we, because we're on the material planet, Earth, we want to think of it as being so important, and our body on this planet, very important, and the length of our life, extremely important, and our profit, adoration, distinction, totally important. We want all these things to be important. But when we take a glance at the total picture, if you went out into the Mahatattva, you would not be able to distinguish the universe that we're in, because there are going to be so many other universes around it that are bigger. And that's just the universe. What to speak of pastimes on one little planet, on the middle planet on the universe like Earth. We have to realize that we're dealing with a big situation here. It's not like, bedtime stories for kids, Oh, yes, and then Agrippa went back to his planet. You have to know what. So do the research. If I'm mistaken, I will accept what you say. Okay? Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Like, I would like to find more about it, because if we see the definition that Prabhupada described about the Supreme Absolute Truth, that all of his forms and pastimes are eternal. So if Krishna's forms like Narasimha, Vara, they are eternal, then they must be existing eternally in the spiritual world also.
Why?
For the pleasure of his devotees.
So you're saying that when Varaha comes to pick up the Pluto planet, that he has his own planet, and that there's tons of devotees that go there because they like to see him with Pluto on his nose.
That's kind of rhetoric, but tons of devotees are there to serve him.
Okay, well, let's make this a project. Let's do the research. Can you do research also? And we'll look it up and see.
I'm not scholarly, Prabhu.
No, all you need is, do you have a computer?
Oh, yes, Prabhu. Like Ramchandra Prabhu can do a quick search in his database. Like
If you have a computer, just go to Vanapedia and start asking questions.
Okay.
Like, where is the Vaikuntha planet of Hayagriva? Or, just ask where the planet is. If I'm mistaken, I will admit it immediately. If you can tell me that I'm mistaken.
One way that I found amazing, if I just go to Google and I put Bhaktivedanta Swami or Prabhupada, and then whatever the question is, you put it, and then all the different sources come up.
Yeah. Well, do you have a computer on you right now?
Yeah.
Why not do it right now?
So what are we asking? Is Lord Shiva, does Nrsimha, Prabhupada?
You can say, does Lord Nrsimha have his own Vaikuntha planet?
Well, that was the whole point that I made, that I heard. My understanding not, because it's only, like you said, he expands to do the pastime. Vishnu expands. That makes the most sense.
Exactly.
That makes the most sense.
That makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's Vishnu, but Vishnu can manifest any sort of avatar that he wants.
But then on the other hand, like this Prabhu is saying, when they're in their pastime, they create many devotees. So where do these devotees go?
They could,
if you're a devotee of Varaha or Nrsimha or
okay. So if there's do you worship Nrsimha?
Yes.
Where?
In my house.
Okay. That's where Lord Nrsimha is, in your house. In other words, his form is transcendental, but that doesn't mean that he has his own planet. It means that his pastime of killing Hiranyakashipu is transcendental. You having a picture of Nrsimha is transcendental. And that means that he is transcendentally in the picture. And the pastime of killing Hiranyakashipu is transcendental. But it does not mean that he kills Hiranyakashipu in every single universe. You see, wherever Krishna is, he's eternal. But that doesn't mean that he has to have a planet that he's stuck on. He's trapped on a planet. Be careful when you're looking that you don't find something that's from Earth. You have to find something from Vaikuntha. This is fun, isn't it? At least I'm having fun. I like it. Because we clear this stuff up, this League for 10K will be unstoppable. Because everybody gets
It's very
snagged.
interesting.
Everybody gets snagged on one part of this or that. Like in Bangladesh, the devotees got killed because they put up a Durga pavilion in front of the temple. Do you think that was because Krishna was pleased? Or do we just say it's fate and bad things happen? Basically, if you have a Krishna temple, you're going to be protected by Krishna if you are taking that role seriously. If you include a demigoddess, a material being, in your Krishna temple, why would Krishna be pleased? Why not stop to think of it? Krishna would not be pleased, right? Oh, but Durga is with Shiva and Shiva is the same as Krishna. Well, it didn't turn out that way, did it? We have to understand that Shiva is not even slightly the same as Krishna. Because Vishnu expands from Krishna and Shiva expands from Vishnu. There's no relationship between Vishnu and Krishna directly. Krishna does not expand as Vishnu. Krishna expands as Baladev, and Baladev expands as Vishnu. Krishna never expands as anybody. Govindam Adipurusham, he's the original personality of God. So what's happening?
I'm looking. I'm doing.
Okay, yeah. Did you find anything yet?
Nothing. No.
Does Banu have something to say? Is Banu still here?
The gypsy has left.
Banu left?
Yep.
Okay. But the question is, nobody argued with the paper that we presented. But then when we said, is there any comment, then disagreement came up. So that disagreement should have come up during the course of, after reading the paper, then we could go through it sentence by sentence, paragraph by paragraph. Do you believe this or you do not believe this? Do you accept, you do not accept?
I have one question regarding the paper.
Go right ahead.
One question I have, that how we are going to make people follow this, whatever is there in this paper, like either people related with ISKCON or others.
Well, how do we get devotees to follow what's in the paper?
Yes.
There's only one thing they need to do. Read the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Not even the first canto, but the first few chapters of the first canto.
No, it's about the rules and regulations that people, like, this should be done, that should be done, and rules about the rules.
What rules and regulations?
Like, for example, anyone who takes initiation, he must be giving a test.
I can't understand.
For example, like there was one thing that that was being said that anyone who takes the initiation, any Hindu who takes initiation, he must pass a test, which
That. Yeah, I was
yeah,
saying
these
that
things.
because ISKCON people, Hindus are joining ISKCON in floods. Why? Because
Yes,
it's a nice movement. It's nice temples. It's nice prasadam. It's nice all the way around. But if they join and they think that Shiva is on the same level as Krishna, then that will not work. The movement will become collapsed after 50, 60 years from now. There won't be any more movement. So we have to say, that was my opinion that I put in, that whoever Hindu wants to be a devotee of Krishna, they have to study the first canto and agree with it. If they study and say, well, that's nice, that's interesting, but I have my own shastra that I go by, that's not good enough. You can't join ISKCON with a different point of view than Prabhupada's. Does that make sense?
Exactly. And the same question like Janis Priya Prabhu also discussed, I think, that how the same thing, I think Janis Priya Prabhu also discussed that how are we going to make ISKCON follow our rules or follow these rules which we are proposing in these discussions.
Well, basically, anyone who took initiation from Prabhupada automatically accepted all of those rules. Nobody thought that Shiva is living in Krishna Loka or anything like that. That only came along when people gave up the whole idea. They were almost interested in selling books and changing books and going on Sankirtan, go on book distribution and inviting the Hindus into the temple because they have money and they need the money run the program. And then you can soften the rules and everything and don't tell people the whole truth. It's all become very soggy. But that's doing a great disservice to the Indian people. The Indian people who identify as Hindus shouldn't be given a carte blanche to be Hindus in ISKCON. They should elevate out of that to the teachings of the Yuga Avatar. The minute Lord Chaitanya appeared, all the religions are gone because Lord Chaitanya is the God that everyone worships.
Exactly. And many of these people who are taking initiation, many of them are not serious about their spiritual life. Many of them think that I have an influential guru with an influential disciples. So I will be getting a good network among, I will be getting a good network among highly educated or aristocratic god brothers.
So you and I, we should have swords in our hands and bows and arrows, stand on the bridge and say, if you want to come into ISKCON, read the first canto and accept it. Otherwise, we're going to shoot. I'm exaggerating, of course, but that's the basic notion. No compromise.
Yeah. But right now, this phenomena is also there that many Indians are attracted towards Vasisheka Prabhu because he has many influential disciples in California.
Okay, money. So what? You see. So that's why we want to get rid of the GBC. You get rid of the GBC, then guess what? The GBC, so I'm not saying we're going to go and shoot them. What I'm saying is that the temples, if they all take up a vote saying, do we want to follow Prabhupada or do we want to follow people that are criminals that fought Prabhupada and took over the movement from Prabhupada and turned it into a business for themselves to make money? Which you rather have, Prabhupada or corruption? So if we keep on making that statement strongly and reasonably so that any intelligent person can understand it, then the temples will say, we want Prabhupada. And the GBC comes in, well, we have the temple, we control it. You can't even join the temple without our permission. He said, we're in the temple and we don't give you permission to come inside. you can stay outside because you guys are criminals and you cheated Prabhupada. You committed aparad, greatest offense imaginable against Prabhupada, and you want to come in here and tell us what to do? You're lucky that you're going to leave with your still with your cojones. You're lucky that you're going to survive this experience of sticking your nose in the temple because you're criminals. So what is not a criminal? Who's going to lead the movement? We know how to lead the movement. You chant Hare Krishna, you go to Mangalartik, you worship the deity, you read from Prabhupada's unchanged books, you distribute Prabhupada's unchanged books, you chant your japa, 16 rounds or more if you like, 24 on Ekadasi. And this is what we do, but we have to, who's going to tell you what to do? And they said, we don't need anyone to tell us what to do because each temple will be independently incorporated. Nobody can tell the temple president what to do. So then what about GBC? We'll elect GBC and they will serve for 3-year terms. Well, what will they do? Control the temples? No, they will serve the temples in terms of helping the temples become bigger, stronger, and open more temples. And when a new temple opens, it's going to need so much help. And not from top down. From the GBC means temple presidents. The GBC are temple presidents. So these temple presidents will go out for 3-year time, or maybe 6, maybe 9, but they'll also be temple presidents at the same time. They'll go out and help the temples open and expand on their own, because we don't need an organization. We don't need Mayapur gatherings every year. All we need is to take prasadam, follow the 4 regular principles, chant Hare Krishna, and take guidance from Prabhupada through his books, and by the sound of the kirtan that he himself chanted, not the horrible kirtans that people prefer to do. And why do they prefer to do it? Simple reason. People don't want to chant Prabhupada's melodies because they want everyone to forget Prabhupada. First they stole the movement ISKCON from Prabhupada. Now they want people to forget Prabhupada and remember them. So when they come into the temple, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. When they do that in the temple, that is supposed to attract you more than Prabhupada. Well, it's time for the devotees to say it doesn't. We're more attracted to Prabhupada than that whoa that you're doing.
Okay, we got about 5 minutes, so.
Okay. Who wants to say something more?
Jalaspriya, anything?
I just found something that it says that Prahlad Maharaj, if there was a Nasringa Loka, Prahlad Maharaj would have gone there, you think? That's one question. And the other one, it's they're saying that no, he went to Vishnu Loka, like you said.
Yeah. No, why would he go to Nisringa Loka?
Yeah, well, it doesn't exist as far as my understanding. So far, what I...
First of all, it doesn't exist. And second of all, if it did exist, why would he want to go there? Just to look like a painting? A picture of Nisringadev and Prahlad? And that he has to stay there like a prisoner in some loka?
I guess the question is, where do all the devotees of all the Lila avatars, where do they go if they don't have their own planet? That's my question.
What do you say, Lila avatar? What are you talking about?
Varaha, Rupa, Nrsingadev.
They go back into the body of the Vishnu that they came from. They all came out of the body of one or another Vishnu.
No, I'm talking of the bhaktas, the bhaktas. If you're a bhakta of Nrsingadev or any of the Lila avatars, then what happens? Where do they go to carry on their
they go back
seva?
to the Vishnu. They go back to the Vishnu form that they came from.
I'm talking of the jivas.
What jivas? That worship them?
Yeah.
Oh, they go on. I mean, what are you going to do? You're in ISKCON this lifetime. What are you going to do next lifetime? You'll go on, right? Chanting.
That's one question I have to research.
Of what you're going to do in your next birth?
No. What if you're a devotee of any of the Lila avatars? What happens to your seva to that Lila avatar?
Well, what happens to our seva to our God brothers? Our God brothers are worshipable to us. They are, we said, called Prabhu. Prabhu means master. So if our God brother is worshipable by us, so what do we do in our next life? Do we simply stay there saying Prabhu to the same person, birth after birth? We continue. We're free. The jiva is independent of everything. And when he surrenders to Krishna, he becomes more empowered, independent. You think that when you surrender to Krishna, then you become a slave of Krishna? Or when you surrender to Krishna, you become empowered by Krishna? Look at Prabhupada. Did he look like a slave? Or did he look powerful? Right?
Right.
He was powerful.
All right, so it's 10 o'clock.
Okay, is Rupa Manjari still here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, well, I wish you had said more things.
It's okay. So we'll continue the meetings tomorrow. Anyone watching online, Facebook, YouTube, if they'd like to join us, please join the WhatsApp group. The link is in the description. And send us a message, comment,
And
subscribe.
Ramachandra, I have a question for Ramachandra Prabhu.
Bolo.
okay.
Yes.